Can everybody hear me back there?
Yes.
I'm going to try to speak loudly. I don't always do that, but I'll try to. So, big turnout today. Thank you for coming out. My name is Tom Tribble. I'm with the Blue Ridge Audubon chapter. We cover a lot of territory, but we're kind of headquartered in Asheville. We cover Buncombe County, Madison County, Henderson, Polk, and others. And do a lot of different things. One of the things we do is presentation. We have a speaker's bureau. I'm going to rename it the Speaker Bureau. I'm the only one who speaks. So, we're one of 9 chapters in North Carolina. We're the only chapter that owns and manages a nature preserve. So we have a place in Asheville called the Beaver Lake Bird Sanctuary, and more than 205 species of birds have been seen in that sanctuary, which is pretty amazing. There's only about 700 species that can be found in North America, so it's, and a lot of those are ocean birds. So there's a lot of birds, especially in the migration seasons of the spring and the fall. So I'm just going to talk about birds today, and I'm happy to take questions at any point. And I'll try to remember to tell you what the bird is. I've got a picture of it on here. I always forget to say what it is, but that's an American goldfinch, in case you haven't seen one. I'm sure you have. So we're going to talk about what makes a bird. Well, they have feathers.
Yeah.
They're the only thing that has feathers. Now, dinosaurs used to have feathers. But birds are actually descended from dinosaurs, so they are actually little dinosaurs now. And but nothing else has feathers. And the feathers are important to the birds. They control their flight. They provide insulation, helps them stay warm. Various camouflage, helps them hide from predators. You may notice that sometimes the male of the species is very bright colored, like the cardinal. The female is much less bright. And you might know the reason for that?
Brighter on the inside.
Pardon?
They're brighter on the inside. Because they sit on the nest.
That must be true. The primary reason is that it's usually the female that sits on the eggs, on the nest. So they want to be camouflaged and not as visible. So there's some exceptions to that rule. Kingfishers, it's the female that's actually prettier than the male. And that's because the kingfisher digs its nest into a bank, a sand bank by a creek. And so the hole goes in about 6 or 8 or 10 feet. Everybody can see it in there anyway. So.
What is that bird?
I'm sorry?
What is that bird?
What is this bird? Oh, that's a downy. I'm sorry. See, I already forgot the first one. That's a downy woodpecker. It's one of the 6 or 7 woodpecker species you can see in western North Carolina. It's called a downy woodpecker. And it can provide nesting material. Ducks and goose will pull out their own feathers to line their nest. Birds lay eggs. Obviously, they're not the only thing that lays eggs. Insects lay eggs. Snakes and reptiles and pigeons all lay eggs. There's even a few mammals that lay eggs. In Australia, there's echidnas. It's kind of like a little one more people around. The platypus and the echidnas almost look like they've got quills, almost like a porcupine. But birds lay eggs. Birds have a bill. Nothing else has a bill. And birds have 2 organs that we don't have. The birds have a crop and a gizzard.
Oh no. He's got something good.
Their crop is where they actually can store food to soften it as they're taking it back to their young or for themselves. So it will kind of provide some liquid in there and soften the food a little bit of the crop. The gizzard's different completely. The gizzard is where they store stuff that they can't digest, and they will regurgitate that later. So an owl, for example, will eat its prey whole. and the babies will eat granny coal. And that produces fur and bones and stuff, and that'll get stored in the gizzard, and then a little while later they will regurgitate that stuff that they don't want or can't digest. So birds are different than a lot of things, and most of them have hollow bones. Why do they have hollow bones? Light, yes, they want to be light as they can be because they gotta fly. So now the bones have a little strut. They're not just a solid hollow, they have little struts that go across for the calcium to provide strength on that, but they're basically so I'm going to ask about the value of birds. Can I tell you why birds are good?
They eat insects.
They eat insects. Anybody else?
They propagate the seeds.
Pardon?
They help disperse seeds.
They help disperse seeds. You guys are doing pretty well. I've done this for a 4th grade class and they've gotten everything. So pest control, so not only insects and mice and lots of things like that. You said seed dispersal and hummingbirds will pollinate plants. And so, the North Carolina Department of Commerce has reported that ecotourism in North Carolina is a $1 billion industry annually, every year. $1 billion are spent on ecotourism. Now, I don't know how many people here come see deer. I don't think many. There may be a few that come see bears when they want to, but you probably wouldn't just drive to North Carolina to see a bear. Most of the ecotourism is birding. People come here from all over. We're a really long state, varied habitat, different birds on the coast, and you get the mountains and in between. And so a lot of people come here to see birds. And that $1 billion also counts the money you spend on your bird feeders, seeds, and whatever that you're feeding birds. So, birds help prevent the spread of disease. All those vultures that fly over are looking for dead things down there. But they're really indicators of our ecosystem health. So what's good for birds is good for people. They want clean water, they want clean air, they want green spaces. So they want to live the way we do and have a nice place to live.
They don't eat hamburgers here, as far as I know. They don't eat hamburgers and fries and
I got one last thing. Birds are beautiful. So I told you, I asked this question of 4th graders in a school one time, and they were popping up all these value of birds, and this one little girl popped up and said, birds are beautiful. And so the point there is that we shouldn't be evaluating or rating birds based on their economic value to humans. You know, they have very much a right to live in this country or live in this world as anybody else and raise their babies. So, you know, we really shouldn't be just evaluating them on their basis of the economic value they provide, although they provide a lot of economic value. So so I love that little girl's answer. So what do they eat? I'm talking about small birds now, I'm not talking about hawks. So crows will eat anything. Insects? Seeds.
Fish.
Worms. Insects.
Fish, maybe.
Eat berries and fruit. Nuts and seeds. Hummingbirds take nectar. They're actually not the only thing that takes nectar, but so these are the 4 food groups. And the 4th food group is insects. I'm talking about small birds here. Obviously, hawks will eat other mice and other birds, for example. Wading birds will eat fish and water creatures. But insects is why native plants really matter. So I'm going to put a couple slides on this. This is 2 baby Carolina chickadees. And the Carolina chickadee female will lay generally 5 eggs. Those eggs look huge. They're about the size of the end of my thumb. They're really not that big. And they all hatch pretty close together, so that they all come out about the same time. And so it takes about 14 to 16 days for those 5 babies to grow their bones and grow their feathers and be ready to fly off. So after 14 to 16 days, that their 2 parents have to feed them. And so my question is, and the primary food they eat is caterpillars. They may eat other insects, but it's primarily caterpillars. So you got 7 birds there. That's the adult Carolina chickadee. You got a big caterpillar. And you got 7 birds, 2 adults, 5 babies. How many caterpillars do they eat over that 14 to 16 days? Anybody want to take a guess?
Hundreds.
100? 7 birds? 16 days? 100 caterpillars? Do your math. There's not very much.
900.
So when I read this, I was stunned. You know, I went 9,000. So I did the math actually. I figured they have 14 and a half hours of daylight. Multiplied that by 16 days. Divided that into 9,000. And it turns out that the 2 adults have to catch a caterpillar. They each have to catch a caterpillar about 19 per hour.
Oh, wow.
Well, that sounds like a lot, but it's not a huge amount. Remember now, the adult does not have to go back to the breakfast table to eat their caterpillar. They can eat their caterpillar wherever they find it. So that reduces the trips that they have to make. So it's really a manageable amount, presuming that there are enough insects around. So we're going to talk about where they get these insects. They find them on native plants. Wow, you guys should have built a bigger house. All right.
When I zoom in the cafeteria,
I'm going to back up a little bit so that people can see. Why don't you pull that thing out here? So I was talking about the Carolina chickadee, where they feed its babies, and it feeds the babies primarily caterpillars. And it's got to get 9,000 caterpillars to raise those 5 babies. And on the left, you've got an oak tree, right? It's one of many oak trees found in this country. And it hosts 537 species of caterpillars.
Wow.
You know how we know that? Graduate students. Support your local graduate students.
So what do those
Anybody know
caterpillars,
that plant on the right?
what do those caterpillars turn into?
Sorry?
What do those caterpillars turn into?
Lots of things. They turn into moths and butterflies and various other insects out there.
It's a ginkgo.
It's a ginkgo tree. Good.
And he gives up over the top of the black hole and then when everybody else off. What kind of bird he is, but he knows us and.
Might be a mockingbird. They chase everything off. So the tree on the right is a ginkgo tree, a beautiful exotic tree from Asia, Japan, or wherever. It hosts 4 species of caterpillars. Well, all you've got is ginkgo trees in your yard. It's a food desert for that family of Carolina chickadees, or a piece of furniture. You know, it's just not much good for them. So why is that? Well, our insects and our plants have evolved together over eons, millions of years. And the trees, they don't want anything eating their leaves, right? So there's a little chemistry going on, and they will produce some toxins in their leaves to prevent anything from eating their leaves. Well, the insects want to eat the leaves, or the caterpillars that want to eat those leaves. And so they've developed over the years the ability to deal with the leaf chemistry of our native plants. And so now, when the insect lays its eggs on the underside of the leaf, and the egg hatches and those caterpillars come out, they're gonna eat some of those oak trees, leaves. You're not gonna kill all of them. And, you know, it's a big oak tree, you got an oak tree in your yard, you know how many leaves it produces? You're gonna wake them all up.
That's right.
It produces a lot of leaves. So, you know, there's,
The caterpillar used to be like way up in the trees, way up looks like caterpillars. They used to stand way up, like, not way up, spider web.
no,
I just caterpillars like that. You got they in the trees, you know, like a certain tree, it's like way up.
yeah, could be.
Yeah, it is. I remember
So, the ginkgo tree, on the other hand, has probably been in this country for, I don't know, 200 years, maybe less than 200 years. The evolution doesn't work fast, so our insects have not developed the ability to deal with the leaf chemistry of that ginkgo tree. So if all you got is non-native plants, you're not helping birds at all. That's where the insects are going to be found. And all of our small birds, 96% of the birds in this country have to feed their baby insects. Obviously, that owl doesn't feed its baby insects, and the hawk doesn't feed its baby insects, and the great blue heron does not feed its baby insects. But all those little birds have to feed their babies insects. And even if the bird is like a goldfinch or a cardinal, primarily a seed eater, they still have to feed their babies insects when they're young. Or if they're primarily a fruit eater, like an oriole or cedar waxwing, you know, when they grow up, they're going to eat fruit primarily. But when they're feeding their babies, they've got to feed them insects. So that's why it's so critical to have native plants. I do a whole program on native plants and why that's important for birds. We won't go into any more of that. Migration. So now I'm not talking about people arriving from Central America or Africa or Greece or wherever, you know. I'm talking about bird migration here. So that's kind of the aerial view of the flyways of birds that are migrating between the seasons. So about 75% of the birds found in North America migrate to South America, Central America, or maybe the Caribbean. Some of them will not go that far, but some of the northern birds will migrate and just come down to where we are. There are birds in Asheville that migrate through the winter with us, or they may go to Florida or some other places. But only 25% of the birds do not migrate. So we do have some birds that stick around.
I just have a question. Do those colors represent a certain species?
You know, I don't, in a sense they do, but I can't tell you what each one is.
Okay.
I can tell you one of those, the orange one is probably a black-balled warbler, because I know that in Canada, it goes out to the ocean and flies over the ocean and down. So yeah, somebody can tell you that better than I can. I didn't make the slide.
That's all right.
See the next slide. So what? Yes.
we had some mama bird died or something like that. Mama bird died in the nest, 3 babies in the head like that, we baby worms with it. So they got flew off.
Did they make it?
Yes, baby worms with it, little worms stayed with it.
It's really hard. It's really hard to raise a baby bird. That's you have to feed them.
But
It's very
kittens
awesome.
too, drop a kitten from the drop of cameo.
So why do those birds fly south in the winter?
For insects.
Pardon?
For insects.
Food, yes. A lot of people say because, you know, get away from the cold. But that's not true, that's only Canadians. Canadians go to Florida to get away from the cold. The birds fly south, it's too far to walk. No, it's find food, that's exactly right. For the most part, the insects have hidden themselves, not completely, some of them can still be found. And of course, the berries and the fruit, most of them have gone away by the time winter comes. So they're going down there to find food. Lots of our birds are insect eaters, and that's what they need. Trying to think where I want to put things in here. All right, we're gonna talk about the hummingbirds. This is a ruby-throated hummingbird. It's the only hummingbird that's found in North Carolina, at least on a regular basis. Occasionally, there can be a different hummingbird that shows up here, but it's really rare. So it's the only one that breeds in North Carolina. There are 17 other species that are found in North America. They're all found out west. You gotta go pretty far out west to find them. Now, they will go all the way up into Alaska. Some of them do. But there are actually 330 species of hummingbirds in the world. 18 in North America. Was that 122 or 112 elsewhere. All of them are found in the Americas. There are no hummingbirds in Africa, there are no hummingbirds in Asia, no hummingbirds in Europe. I read a book once, said Greece, and the author was saying, and the hummingbird was coming to our flowers. And we go, no. I'm a birder, there are no hummingbirds there. So there are other species that take nectar that are found in other places in the world. A species called sunbirds that are found in Africa and in Asia. I've seen both in both places. Hummingbirds are only found in South America, Central America. So a little bit about the hummingbird. It's a tiny little bird, weighs between 2.5 and 4.5 grams. We're Americans, we have no idea what a gram is. 4.5 grams, 2 dimes. You put 2 dimes in your pocket, you don't even know it's there. They're pretty small. 4.5 grams is what they weigh when they fatten up to fly to Central America. Go back. A lot of people don't realize this, but hummingbirds, insects make up a half of their diet. So, like all those other birds I talked about, they've got to feed their babies insects. They can't just feed them nectar. So, if you ever have a hummingbird feeder, the hummingbird comes to the feeder, and you'll see it dart off 15 feet. When we come back, you just dart it off and grab the little insect, a little gnat or something. That's what it's doing. But it's got to get insects too. So, amazing little birds, 4.5 grams, weigh 2 dimes. They migrate to Central America, different places, but so they will fly across the Gulf of Mexico, 300 to 500 miles, depending on where they start. They'll come down to Alabama, Louisiana, or Texas, and that's a long flight. You're a tiny little bird that weighs 2 dimes. They're pretty amazing. And they do that not just once a year, they do it twice a year. They've got to fly back. So they will.
I'll tell you an interesting hummingbird story.
Okay.
We used to have a little hummingbird feeder on the glass door going out onto our deck. That was a mistake. Because it opened the door, a hummingbird flew into the kitchen. And he was up in a 4x4 skylight. So I had to climb up onto the top of the table and reach. And he knew I wasn't going to harm him by instinct, and I carried him back outside. Was he relieved? It's the only bird that can fly backward.
Yeah, I'm gonna mention that in a minute, you're right. Yeah, they will fly in the house. I get Carolina wrens that fly in my house every so often, if I leave the door open. And, trying to get them out can be tricky. I'm surprised that the hummingbird is that cooperative. So they spend the winter in Central America, and they come back and see us.
Are you familiar with the swallowtail?
Swallowtail kites or hummingbirds? Not in this country, there's not one.
In Jamaica?
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting.
And there are lots of different ones. I'm going to show you another one here in a minute. But, so that's its range. The orange areas are where it breeds. So you can see it actually does go a little far west in Canada, but it basically stays kind of east of the Mississippi River for the most part. And it's winter in Central America primarily. There are some of them go down to the Caribbean, and there may be some that stay in Florida, southern Florida, so the gentleman said he can fly backwards, he's right, he can fly backwards, he can fly backwards, he can fly upside down. They're remarkable little flyers, they can hover. Now, they're not the only bird that can hover. Have you ever seen a kestrel, little falcon, they will hover. Ospreys will hover above the water before they dive in. Kingfishers will hover before they dive and catch a fish. But they do hover, they can do all the things. And they will beat their, this is a little bit wrong. I would say they beat their wings somewhere between 50 and 70 times a second. But actually, they don't beat their wings. Most birds beat their wings like this. Hummingbirds rotate their wings. They've got a whole different shoulder muscle.
So it's go backwards, I guess.
Yeah, so they rotate.
That's good.
What, how long do they live?
I'm sorry?
How long do they live?
5, 6 years, 7 years, maybe. I think, obviously there's a lot of variation there, but, if they're migrating, they've got to come back to produce the next brood. So clearly they're, living long enough that they can do that. So 5 or 6 years would be about right. A lot of the smaller birds might be 10 to 12 years. So it's the smallest bird in the world.
They're also combative. They fight each other. They're combative.
Oh, they are combative, yes. Yeah, there's a picture on one of the listservs. A man took in his driveway, and his 2 hummingbirds in the driveway found in the morning. And one of them's got this beak all the way through the heart or through the chest, and the other one, of course, they both died. So yeah, they were very combative, very territorial. They will defend their flower bush. Yep. They will defend their flower bush and chase off the birds trying to get through the flowers. This bird is only found in Cuba. I was fortunate enough to take a trip to Cuba about 3 years ago and saw this bird. Really cool. Weighs 2.6 grams, which is about half the size of a nickel. A tiny little bird, very pretty. This is one that's being held by somebody in his hand. They probably just captured this bird in a mist net or something. I tried to put my hand up on it. I can't tell whether it's a big hand or a little hand. But the bird's little, I know that. So wood thrush, how many people have ever seen a wood thrush? Yeah, absolutely. They're not easy to see, especially now. They're really a forest bird. Now, they will come through, they can be in migration, they also migrate. They come through different times. I talked about the chickadee earlier. Chickadee does not migrate, but all the warblers, Furios are warblers, smaller birds about the size of a chickadee, they do migrate. And that the black and white warbler or whatever warbler you've got right here migrates, weighs about 11 grams. But the same with the chickadee. And 11 grams is 2 quarters. They're pretty small too. You won't feel that in the book. The switch thrush is a huge bird. About the size of a robin, in family. They weigh 40 grams. 7 quarters. Still not felt very much in the pretty pocket. But they're a wonderful bird, a wonderful song, which I think we'll play here in a second. The grayish orange is where they breed up in the eastern part of the country, up in North Carolina. And they migrate to Central America for the most part, maybe a couple places in the Caribbean. So the wood thrush range in North Carolina is shown at the top. It covers the entire state of North Carolina. Climate change is a real threat to birds. There's another whole presentation on climate change. I'm not going to do that today. It's a couple of minor slides on climate change. The climate activity global temperature reaches 3.5 degrees centigrade, while pre-industrial levels range of wood pressure like that 2080, almost what? They'd be limited to our mountains.
So they might go extinct.
But there could be a lot of birds that go extinct because of this. Since Europeans arrived in this country in 1492, on the sail of the ocean blue, I saw that. Or shortly after that, we've had 9 species go extinct, which is terrible, but maybe a little understandable. Audubon did a study on climate change and birds. It's called Survival by Degrees. You can go to the Audubon website and read about it. And there are something like 684 species in the study, something like 380 are at threat of being going extinct. Now, nobody really predicts that's going to be the case. Hopefully, we're not going to reach 3.5 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels. But and birds are adaptable, and so we don't think that's going to happen. But there's certainly some could be threatened by extinction and climate change. This is another. I talked about the warblers. This is the typical warbler in the sense that it probably weighs about 11 grams. And you might have seen a yellow-throated warbler. One even got this big bird here. So that's great. One of my favorite birds, partly because it's one of the first returning migrants. And it's, I'll show you, well, there's the range. It kind of breeds all through the southeast, a little bit further north in the orange, and then it migrates to Central and South America, and Central America and the Caribbean. Seen them in Belize in the winter. And part of the reason it's one of my favorite birds is it's one of the first 2 warblers that come back to the U.S. Louisiana water thrush is the other early migrant in our area. So I live about less than a mile from our Beaver Lake Bird Sanctuary in North Asheville. I spend a lot of time there, and I really like heading down there in early March or sometime in March, waiting for this bird to get back. March 12th was the earliest date I've seen this bird. But it's usually a little later than that. Usually it's March, last week of March, before they get back. And they're just beautiful birds with a wonderful song. Just gonna work on it. Well, we'll try this. Oh, you may hear that?
Do it all the time, the morning especially.
See, I can't hear that at all. I have no high frequency hearing. I have no idea. Now, I've got a device that I wear that allows me to hear it. I can't hear that.
Bird was singing.
Morning birds.
Sweet, sweet, sweet.
Anyway, so I listen to that bird, and to that bird, because then I know all the other warblers are coming back for the spring. That's my sign, and that makes me very, very happy. So, tree swallow, I'm sure you've seen them flying probably around here. This is another early migrant, and they may arrive in late February. They get back pretty early. And part of that is that, again, the orange reddish is their breeding territory, goes all the way to northern Canada, all the way. But they will stay in Florida for the winter. Quite large flocks of them you can see in Florida for the winter. Then they go down to Central America. I saw these in Cuba when I was there. They're pretty common. A beautiful bird, beautiful blue back and white breast, and oh, you know Carl?
Sure do.
I think this will get a lot of song. So they don't migrate. How come they don't migrate?
Eat seeds.
They can find food. That big thick bill,
Yeah.
that's a sign of a bird that's primarily a seed eater. Sparrows, various others have that thick bill, finches, and so there's plenty of seeds for them all year round. So they don't have to migrate. And I don't know who asked me the question, this lady, I think, they stay with the same mate all year round, their entire life until one of them may die. And part of the reason they can do that is because they don't migrate. So obviously these birds that migrate, several thousand miles down there, they're flying at night, you can't stay with their buddy, you can't stay with their wife or their husband, their spouse. So they come back next year and look for a new mate. But these will mate for life, and there's a few others that do. They sing in the pitch that I can hear.
That's the first thing I hear in the morning. There's a cardinal that's waking everybody up.
So,
Morning bird.
they're unusual in the fact that both the male and the female will actually sing. Most of our birds, they do not. Most of the migratory birds, the female does not sing at all. This is not true everywhere in the world. In Australia, all the birds, the male and the female, will both sing. But in North and South America, it's generally the migrants, the female does not sing. Now they will make some calls and stuff. And I'm going to give you an example in a minute of one that does do a call. Chimney swift, you might have seen chimney swifts. I'm sure you have them flying around up here. Wonderful birds. I'll talk about the animal nest for a little bit. So, swift, you will never see a swift on a telephone wire. You see a bird on a telephone wire, maybe a swallow or something else, it's not a swift. If they land on the ground, they can't take off. In fact, they really cannot stand up. They're a family called Podopod. I can't say that. Podopod. Apod, A-P-O-D means no feet. Well, they have feet, but they can't support themselves on these feet. Some of them sleep while flying. The chimney swift does not do that. But there are 99 species of swifts around the world. And the common swift in Europe, when that common swift baby fledges, grows its bones and feathers, flies away and leaves the nest, it doesn't land for another year. It flies for a year. So these...
Don't they run into something as they're sleeping?
No, they fly very high. They don't run into, I guess, maybe they try to do it.
They get hot.
Well, the reason they don't is that they... scientists have figured this out. It's not just chimney swifts and other birds. They turn off half their brain. One half is always on, the other half will be off. So another remarkable thing about birds, I know a lot of people don't use any of their brain. They turn off half their brain. So there's a shorebird called godwit that that's in northern Canada and northern US. The winters in New Zealand. It flies 11,000 kilometers, so that's 7,000 miles. When it leaves New Zealand, it actually stops at a couple of places. It stops in Japan, and Korea, to feed, and then goes on to Alaska. On the way back, they fly nonstop. 7,000 miles. It'll take them about 7 days to do that. And they will vary their elevation, and they go as high as 5 miles or 6 miles up, down to 2,000 feet up. If they want to get the wind, right? They want to get good wind behind them.
What's the name of that one?
It's called a godwit. There are 3 or 4 species of godwit. I'm not sure that's a Sodian godwit or which one. There's about 4 species of godwits.
How do you spell that?
Godwit. And So again, that's a species they know turns half, one side of its brain off for a period of time, and then turn the other side off.
Now, chimney swift, it can't take off from the ground. Let's suppose you pick it up, can it take off from your hand or?
No, not unless you throw it up in the air.
Throw it up in the air and it will fly.
I'm talking about the roosting in a minute, but everything else they do while they're flying. Drinking, bathing, collecting their nest material, I'll come back to that. Mating, we actually mate while they're flying. They're not the only bird that does that. But they actually collect their nest material. I'm going to show you a nest here. They get little twigs. They can't land on the ground, just pick up the twig, right? So to get that little twig, they've got to fly through the bush. The twig has to be very, very small. It's as big as my finger. When they'll break it off, they just crash. So they got to be very smart. They'll fly through that bush, see the right size twig, and break it off, and they'll take it back. This is a chimney swift nest. It looks like a half a nest. When you think about it, they're nesting on the inside of the chimney or inside of a hollow tree, so it is kind of a half of the nest. That would be against the wall. And so they start by attaching some of those little twigs to the inside of the tree or inside of the brick chimney, and then they start building it out. And I'll pass this around, but it's very fragile. The other thing that's fascinating about it, when the breeding season comes, the bird undergoes some physiological changes. So its saliva becomes like glue. You can actually come up and look at this, you can see some spots look like Elmer's glue on here. It's a little bit orange, and that's how they stick it together. It looks pretty fragile in terms of 3 eggs sitting in there, or more, 5 eggs it could be. So it's pretty remarkable what they can do.
I have a question about this. It's hard to understand how they can eat or bathe or nest. And I mean, do they die if they land on the ground?
They could, yes. So they don't. But in terms of taking the water, you can see this is the bird getting water that flies over this. I've seen this bird at Beaver Lake all the time. They'll fly down and just get the water. They'll also fly to bathe. They'll fly just a little bit lower and splash their wings and do the water all over themselves. Have you ever seen a bird in a bird bath?
Yeah.
They've been like that, splashing off. Well, this is doing the same thing, but it never lands. Just it gets close enough to the water, they can splash it all up and stuff.
And what about nesting?
So the nesting, as I said, they build a nest on the inside of that chimney, or the inside of that hollow tree, and then they will sit on the nest. And when it's time for them to leave, they actually drop off the side of the nest, go down just enough to get air pressure under their wings, just like a plane does. Bernoulli's principle, I think it is, and then they can fly out. So, but if that bird, if the baby bird drops out of the nest, they can actually climb up the inside of the chimney, so make their way out. One of the events that our chapter does in kind of late September, we can call it Swift Night Out. So swifts roost, they migrate to South America and all over the eastern part of the United States. And they will fly south. They don't fly nonstop, stop at night and roost. And they will roost together in a chimney somewhere. And they actually will fly, drop into the chimney, through the chimney hole at the top. And they've got 4 toes, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. And they have a different arrangement of their toes than any other species. and you rotate those two back toes up, so now they've got 4 toes on the front, just like you had with 4 fingers there. And that's how they sleep the night. So if you think about it, inside of a brick chimney, it's got a brick, layer of mortar, brick, layer of mortar, so they hang from the top of the brick. You know, there's that indentation where the mortar provides. So they'll hang there like that, and there'll be hundreds or thousands of them roosting at night in the same place. So we have what we call Swift Night Out, and we meet on the top floor of the Civic Center parking garage in downtown Asheville. Usually it's the fourth Thursday, but you have to check the website. We get there about 6:30 or so, and we may see 2 or 3 swifts flying around. And then about 6:45, we may see 15 or 20 swifts flying around. And then by the time it starts getting dark, there'll be hundreds of swifts, and they start dropping into the chimney. In fact, they'll fly in a little circle and just start dropping. It looks like the chimney is just the vortex, just sucking them up. And we counted as many as, in that particular spot, we counted as many as 2,000 or 3,000 chimney swifts would go in there and spend the night.
How big are
They're 5-inch birds, 6-inch birds, maybe. They're tiny little birds. I'm going to tell you the size.
Are you measuring wing tip to wing tip, or when you talk about size?
Their wing span is greater than the width. I'm going to tell it to you right now. Chimney swift is 5.5 to 2 inches in length. And, you know, from here to here. And the wingspan is about 14 inches. So the wingspan is much greater. So they will roost overnight in that chimney all together like that. And people ask me, well, what about in the morning when they leave? I haven't gotten up early enough to go watch them leave. I watch them go in those nights, and that's open and free to everybody. You're welcome to come. I'm saying drive up there. But you could find a chimney or a chimney here in Columbus or Polk County or somewhere that where you can see that. I can't tell you there's one down here, but I'm sure there is somewhere. You can see this again, the range map. They're found all over the eastern United States. There are 3 other species of swift that are found in the U.S. Again, they're all western, and they all migrate. And the chimney swift flies a long way. It goes to South America, not Central America. It goes to Brazil, Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Colombia, and a little bit of Peru, I think. Yes?
This time of year, you will hear chuck willows and widows.
Yep.
It sounds like another kind of bird, but it's
Yep.
and then you'll hear an answer come from some distance away. I guess they're courting, you know. This is the time of year when you hear them sit outside at dusk. And you will hear those widows.
That's the best time to hear is at full moon. Same thing with the whippoorwill. Whippoorwill and chuck-billed widow are similar species.
It sounds like a whippoorwill to an extent, but not.
So I do a lot of bird counts, or have over the years. And one, if you're familiar with Green River Cove Road, pick it up at Saluda, the exit, I-26 exit at Saluda, go down Green River Cove Road. I'm thinking to do that now, in that lane, destroy that church batch. But you can get on another way. Well, at the end of that road, there's a Baptist church where Green River Cove Road and another road come together. And we do our bird count, and we start there at about 6 o'clock in the morning. And we hear both whippoorwill and chuck-billed. And they have a different call, different sound. And yeah, they're pretty neat birds. Okay, we get close to the end here. Just if you want to get into birding, I used to do a whole presentation on introduction to birding, but this is kind of what you're looking for. Size and shape. I should change it to posture. A lot of times I can see a bird and I don't even have to look and see it. No, that's this posture. I know what it is. Color pattern obviously is very helpful. Behavior. The way the chimney swift behaves is very different from the way that wood thrush behaves. The habitat that they're in, you have to be a little careful about that because the birds are migrating back from Central America and leaving. They may not be in the habitat where they nest. So there are some flycatchers that very similar to lookalikes in the Audubonix family that all nest in a different kind of habitat. But obviously when they're migrating, they're going to stop forever. But that could help with the flight pattern. If you ever watch that goldfinch, he flies like this. The flag drop down and come back up. Same thing with a lot of the woodpeckers will do that. So you kind of see that and you say, ooh, kind of figure out where it is.
A lot of the geese flying a bee.
Yeah, the geese flying a bee, right?
Yes.
It provides some,
It's about.
it reduces the wind push on the rest.
Yeah.
And starlings flock.
Yeah, they will all go together like that. And that's one bird is reacting to the three birds around it. Next bird's reacting to the four birds around it. Cool, when they go, so it looks like. So the name is what? You say the name in a second, what it's called.
Starlings?
Huh?
Starlings?
No, the name of the type of flight.
Oh.
I'll figure it out, but then
Me too.
field marks, they may have a dot in front of their chest, and they have a line that goes through their eye, a line above their eye. They may have bars on the top of their head with lots of different field marks. And of course, they all have unique songs. Like one lady over here who's got, I'm not talking to you, who's got Merlin. You've got a smartphone. You can download an app called Merlin.
Yeah.
It's free from Cornell University, and you can turn it on, the sound, and it will tell you what that bird is singing.
Yeah.
And years ago, people used to come to me when I'm leading a bird walk, and they say, "Is there something that would tell me what the name of that bird is when it's singing?" I said, "No, that technology doesn't exist." Well, now it does. Because Cornell University has gone out and recorded thousands, hundreds of thousands of bird songs and calls. And now it will recognize that bird. And it will tell you that's a cardinal, or that's a mockingbird, or that's a whatever it is, it's out there in your yard.
The loon gives a beautiful sound.
Now, it's not perfect. It may misidentify a bird. It's not the gospel according to John.
The Audubon app, it helps you cross-check it.
Yeah.
Like, if you hear it and you're thinking, I don't think that's what it is, you go to the Audubon and look that bird up, and it has the calls from that bird on it that are recorded. So.
Merlin actually does too.
Yeah.
They give us copy. So you're going to get a field guide. This is my field guide. Sibley's birds of the east. There's also good birds of the west. I happen to like this one best. Roger Torrey Peterson has one. There are lots of field guides out there. Some of them use pictures as opposed to drawings. I prefer the one with the drawings because it's giving you the representation of what that bird is. The picture gives you a picture of one bird at one point in its life. It may look different 2 minutes later, depending on the light and whatever. With the field guide. So when I used to do this introduction to birding class, my first slide was rule number 1, study your field guide. The second slide said, rule number 2, see rule number 1. So when I started birding, I didn't know any other bird. It was 50-some years ago. I didn't know any other bird. I didn't know anybody to ask anything. Couldn't hear, still can't hear. So I would just go out and walk through the woods, walk through the fields, and I'd come back at night with that field guide and just start figuring out what's the difference between a warbler and that finch, the goldfinch or that cardinal. So that's how you get started. So we're gonna end it here. I'm just gonna zip through some pictures of some birds. Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask a question. I'm having a war in my house with the squirrels.
Uh-huh.
I've gone through 3 bird feeders. They were plastic. They've destroyed that. I have a metal one now. They're even destroying that.
Yeah.
My bird feeder is on a steel pole. It's about 6 foot high. I've tried everything. First thing I tried, I just put oil on the pole. And that was funny, the squirrels would climb up, and they'd get up about 3 feet, and they just slide down. That was funny watching. But I've tried duct tape, reverse duct tape, I've tried everything. And I can't beat these damn squirrels. And they eat about 2.5 pounds of seeds every day.
Okay, I'm a bird guy, I'm not a squirrel guy. If you go to the internet and Google, you'll find all kinds of things that you can use to try to prevent squirrels from getting your feet. But I can't tell you what they are. I've had that problem.
I have a question. Can you tell me a little bit about grackles?
Right. Well, no, they're black, they're long tails, they're pretty birds, they're kind of iridescent purple and black, and I don't know, what do you want to know about it?
Well, their flight, they all seem to, they swarm. I've only seen them in huge, like flocks.
And that would be in the winter when they gather that way.
Okay.
A lot of blackbirds, grackles, starlings, cowbirds, red-winged blackbirds will gather in large flocks in the winter. And yes, you can see thousands and thousands together. But they're going to disperse during the breeding season. They're not going to have a big flock in that breeding season.
Okay.
They're breeding all the time.
Are there any birds besides the cowbird that lay their eggs in other birds' nests?
Cuckoos. Around the world, there are quite a number of them. Cowbirds do that. Cuckoos do that. And, you know, just another nature adaptation that works for them. So a cowbird will lay its egg in a warbler's nest. And usually they're designed to hatch a little before the warbler's eggs hatch. So they get fed first, and in addition, they're bigger. So they will actually take more food. They will actually push the baby warblers out of the nest so they get all the food. So most birds don't like cowbirds. But that's just kind of what they did.
Do cuckoos also do their own nest, or do they?
It depends on the species. Some cuckoos that do their, just lay their eggs and raise their babies the right way. I'm not being judgmental.
What about the ones here?
You know, the yellow-billed cuckoo, I think I've seen the 2 of them on a nest. So, but there are cuckoos in other parts of the world where that's a common strategy. I'm not sure I can answer exactly that. We have a black-billed cuckoo and a red and yellow-billed cuckoo. I'm not sure I can tell you anything to it.
I have an answer for this gentleman that was talking about the squirrels. I not only survived, I conquered these squirrels. And here's how I did it. They make it looks like an upside down funnel.
Yeah.
And you put it on the pole, they can't get up over that. And it works, and I just felt like I was so successful. And I had tried it.
Thank you.
This is what it looks like.
Yeah, yes.
It's a backhoe.
It's very common backbone that you can connect to the pole.
Yep.
And that will block a lot of them. But squirrels can jump a long way.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to try to get you guys out of here. Let you guys tell me what the birds are.
Blue jay. Blue jay.
Trying to let you talk. Yes, that's a blue jay. Very Robin. What's his call? Well, I told you this is, that was in the other slide, and there's no finish. And it's got,
It's small.
people say it sounds like popcorn. I can't hear that either. Carolina wren. It's one of those birds that sticks around all year. They stay with the same mate as long as they live. And in consequence, they both sing
Loudly.
loudly, lots of different ways. And here's his call. Male. Female. You hear that trilling at the end? That's the female answering. I've actually seen that, where male and the female, and they look just alike, at least to us they did. They're 10 feet away on different saplings. The male does that chittery, chittery, chittery call, and the female does that trilling at the end.
So they're communicating.
Yeah.
Brown cats, black cats.
Brown-headed. Yeah,
Could you say that louder?
Brown-headed nuthatch. One of the little birds, only found in the southeast United States. They're endemic to this country, only found in this country, and only in the southeast. And primarily a seed eater, primarily found on pine trees.
Not that one.
And can you hear that? I can't hear it. Everybody says it sounds like a bathtub squeaky toilet.
Yeah.
It's like a dog truck cranking up, dragging it,
Sounds like a little mouse.
Affiliated with it.
We have a tree at our sanctuary that looks like that tree where the babies are. It's not that tree, that's not that picture, but it looks exactly like it. I actually watched the male and the female excavate that hole. They do a perfectly round hole that goes down about 10 inches or so. Enough so that when they go in there, they're completely out of view. And they raised 3 babies, and I think those 3 babies had 10,000 pictures taken of it.
Picture of 1,000 words.
Blue hair.
Towhee, eastern towhee. It used to be just one towhee. It was called a rufous-sided towhee. But they decided that the western towhee is a different species, and got white spots on its back. So now there's a spotted towhee and the eastern towhee. Messing up those people who've been burned up for 50 years.
Tell us about the sandpiper.
About what?
Sandpiper, they build their nest on the ground, and they do everything to distract people from seeing that nest.
You're thinking about a killdeer, there are lots of different sandpipers, shorebirds, and they will build their nest on the sand, or killdeers will actually do it on gravel in a gravel parking lot, various places. And they will try to distract you by a broken wing display. So they'll move away from the nest like this, and it looks like they're prey, and you know, the dog or whatever is chasing them because they can catch it easily and then it flies off. And they're taking it away from the nest.
Yeah.
Catbird, gray catbird. I put a little spot on the wall park with a picture of the name catbird on it. A gray catbird. Not many people are aware of it. But they never see it. But right on the tail of the fin is that little rufous spot, which is little birds that have never even seen that. You didn't know it was there. Kinglet. Golden crown kinglet. There are 2 kinglets we have here, the ruby crown and the golden crown. And the golden nests in high elevations. This bird nests up in Mount Mitchell. But it will come down, it's a migrant in the sense that it's an altitudinal migrant. So it will go from high elevation to lower elevation, because up in Mount Mitchell there may be 4 feet of snow, 5 feet of snow on the ground all winter. So instead of coming down and finding food, And it actually is mostly an insect eater, and it will find the insects under the bark of trees. They're hidden there for the winter. Very high squeaky.
We can't hear that.
Okay.
Not on it.
I can barely hear.
Yeah,
It's just real faint, yeah.
I can't hear it all. It's just
No,
my-
Yeah, it's faint, but I can hear it.
No. Doesn't have a voice.
Yellow warbler, things over here.
Same here.
Yeah, they do breed around here, they're beautiful little birds. And their song is pretty, again, I'm not gonna hear this, but. We don't say, sweet.
Are you playing the same?
Huh?
Are you playing the same?
Thought it was.
Right on the symptom. Wrapping that up.
Here we go.
Excellent.
Do you have the sound turned down? Do you have the sound turned down?
Nope, not pretty high.
Yeah, that's
Good.
On the left, Scarlet Tanager. And on the right, Rose Breasted Ghostly, or Scarlet Tanager. These are both migrants. Both of them nest and breed at high elevations. So on the parkway, you can get them up there.
I have a scarlet tanager at Columbus.
They're nesting
And the summer, well, they're here.
Green.
in the summer. Well, that's interesting.
And summer tanager.
That's a whole different species altogether.
Right, but I have one.
Most of the ones I see, I'll see them occasionally in migration in the spring when they come through. In the fall, I should get a picture of this. In the fall, that scarlet tanager loses all its red and it's yellow. It looks a lot like a female, a little brighter than yellow. And the road grosbeak, they will come to feeders in both the spring and the fall. They generally don't nest at lower elevation. They will come to feeders. The screech owl, and I'm taking a bird box in our sanctuary. These two screech owl. And I told you about the alligator woodpecker that nested in a hole and excavated in a big tree in our sanctuary. This is that same tree. So I think the alligator woodpecker ought to get rent money.
Yeah.
They built this place, and the next spring, in fact, that fall, there were paper wasps that took over that nest. Paper wasps, they chew up bark, and they create paper, and just a little hole around there, and the wasp would go into. And the next spring, or the next winter, the eastern screech owl took over that hole. That's where the babies, they raised 5 babies, all flew off. Red shoulder ball, yes. And this is one I came here.
Nice one.
You have to be a little careful, blue jays can imitate that. Why they do, I don't know, I'm just gonna want to say,
I heard that they did it to run the other birds off so they could eat.
well, maybe, exactly.
Yeah, that they would make, raptor calls, so they run the other birds off so they could eat.
Osprey, it's an osprey, it's another bird that hovers. They really don't nest in western North Carolina. There's been a couple of historical records of that, and not very often. But they do come through.
There was a pair that bred at Lake Junaluska.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one up in the Henderson County that breds. It's not very often, but we do get them come through, and of course, they're found all over the world. Every place I've gone to, I've done a lot of work overseas. Almost every place I've gone to, I've seen these birds. In Asia, India, Africa, wherever you go. Always up, they have the easiest life. They just need a piece of water about this wide. It's got a fish in it. That's all they need.
Yeah, he's diving down for one.
Yeah.
Mallet.
I'm not playing the song. It's not a song.
Good at red eyes.
I heard it from you. Anybody else? They're wood duck. There are only 3 ducks that breed in western North Carolina. And all the rest of them breed further north. And the mallard and the wood duck are 2 of them. There's 3.
What's the third one?
The third one is a common organizer. And that was debatable for a long time. There's a bird down in Polk County, in Green River.
I've seen my Green River many times, yeah.
Yeah, he's 34 years ago, this guy spotted these birds and reported it, and everybody said, no, they're wrong. He reported them as breeding, you know, it's got a picture of the baby duck on the back of the organizer in Green River. So finally we got the pictures out here, and then everybody said, well, that's right. And so, but then others reported in different places, on Creek Broad, next place, other places. But I've seen them on Green River.
The hooded merganser doesn't breed here?
Nope, and this is the hooded merganser. That's the male hooded merganser, it does not breed here.
He looks pretty cool.
Yes, it does. Now, he kind of expands that little white cheek patch. So you might, when you first see it, it might not look that way, not the big. Okay, so we're at the end here. We do our chapter up walks. Unfortunately, none of them are very close to you. But first and second, third Saturday of every month, we have a bird walk that the leader will read. It's usually not me anymore because I can't hear. Go to our website and find out how Henderson County is probably the closest to you.
Yeah.
So that's all I got, folks. Thanks very much.
Thank you.